Hi, my name is Robert. This video is designed to give you step-by-step detailed instructions on completing the task at hand. Please read the comments in the About section of this video. It has valuable information and updates. My YouTube channel has a disclaimer video that I encourage you to watch. And please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you found what you're looking for. Thank you very much for watching. So I got a goal today to get the transmission out. So the first thing you want to do is get the air box out of the way. Looks like the clamp's already loose to the top of this air box. So pop the top of the air box off, unplug the MAF, and set that aside. Disconnect it, unscrew anything that's screwed to it. I got 2 screws there. Jerk the air box out, get it out of the way. If you got this fresh air tube coming from the radiator, just pull that out of the way, disconnect your mass airflow sensor tubing. Next, I'm going to take this air intake tube off, 7mm or flat tip screwdriver there. The same with this distributor cap, flat tip or 8mm socket there. Get that stuff out of the way. So I don't do no damage to this, I'm going to go ahead and pull this rotor off. I have no clue why people torque these screws down so tight when they have a lock washer on them. So if you find one that you can't get loose, can't find something in there, I use something like this or vice grips. Put it on there, squeeze real tight, break them loose. My air box bracket is in the way a little bit, so I'm going to pull those 2 bolts, one there and one there out to get that out of the way. I'm also going to disconnect this vacuum line for the brake booster. Goes over to the manifold, get that out of the way. I'm going to be careful with that because my slave cylinder line is running through that bracket, so I don't want to damage that. So let me go ahead and pull those 2 bolts out. I'm going to go ahead and remove this hydraulic line from the slave cylinder. So I'm going to go back here and pull that little clip out right there. Stick a fine screwdriver in there, slide that line out. I'm going to come over here to the front of the slave cylinder, clutch slave cylinder, and undo that bolt there. So I'm going to undo that bolt, take that out, pull that clip out from the master clutch cylinder. You see, I got my accessory screwdriver in there, pull that clip out. To get at this line, I'm going to go ahead and pull this fan shroud and fan up out of the way. Take that bolt out there, take that one out there, lift that out so I can get that hydraulic line loose easier. I got the fan out of the way. I did have to unplug a couple of wires. Now when you take this loose, remember this is connected to your brake reservoir, brake fluid reservoir, so brake fluid is going to come out of there. So you want to put a pan under there to catch it or just stay clear. And I think it's an 11mm that gets that out of there. There's 2 ways to get this line loose. One way is to take a 12mm, unscrew it. Second way is to pull that clip right there and slide the whole thing out of the transmission. Now the starter is in the way, so you'll have to pull the starter. 2 14mm bolts, one there and one down in the crevice of the transmission. So either way, a lot of these starters also have the rear bracket. This one appears to have the bolt out of it, so it should slide right out. I'm going to pull the starter and pull the whole slave cylinder with the line. Now I have the starter out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and use a clip ring puller, pull this clip ring out of the way, and remove this slave cylinder from the transmission. As you can see, it's already coming out, and it was pushing on that linkage there. Let me pull that out and take this bracket and line out of here. Put the clip ring back so I wouldn't lose it, and when I unplug that back there, I'm going to lose some fluid. So I'm going to get this stuff out of the way so I can lift all this out. And I also am going to drain the coolant. So let me put something under there and catch my coolant. I'm going to drain the coolant so that I can get this hose past this lower radiator hose. Of course, in the junkyard, that'll probably be cut. But I'm going to go ahead and pull that hose loose. Next thing you want to do is remove the radiator hose so that's out of your way. Remove this heater hose so that's out of your way. You can also pull that crank sensor bolt right here so that that's out of your way. Move the cam and crank sensor so that that's out of your way, and then pull the bolts out of the top of the transmission. You may leave one in, you could pull all of them, it doesn't matter. Took that 10mm off the end of that battery cable. Now I can unweave the battery cable stuff from around that line and go ahead and pull that off of there. So let me go ahead and unplug that end of the wire and pull this whole airbox and slave cylinder hose out of here. I got the master and slave cylinder hose out in the assembly. I got the clip on there. Replace that clip on there so I don't lose it. Now I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to go put the vehicle in neutral. The next thing I'm going to do is take this clip loose, unplug the reverse light switch, and then I'm going to pull these clips out of this bracket here. I got one here, I pull it up, one behind it, I pull it up, and that will free the cables loose from the transmission. And I got a clip here, so be careful you don't lose these clips and washers. Set those where you can put them back on after you're done. So I got these two loose. I'm going to pull those clips, leave the bracket on the transmission. I'm going to detach the wiring harness from the transmission, and I'm going to put the hardware back into the transmission. There's O2 sensor harness there, and I'm going to pull these clips to detach the cable from it, and that way when I lower the engine with the transmission, I don't have to worry about that harness attached to it. I'm also going to detach the throttle cable so I don't damage that. Basically, you just turn it back, opening the throttle body, and unhook the cable from it. Then I'm going to unhook this upper engine bracket. Now, if you're at the junkyard where you'll likely pull this stuff, you're going to let the subframe down, which all this stuff will pivot down from the passenger side, and that arm will clear. However, if you're bracing this engine up and not letting it fall down with the subframe, you're going to need to remove this arm from the transmission, because you won't be able to get it out. It won't clear the frame of the car. Since I'm going to let all that stuff down, I'm going to leave that arm attached. Has a pin in it, pull the pin, slide the arm off. Simple as that. So let me go ahead, get the wire harness loose there, and pop these clips out. These clips pull out of here so that the cables are loose. So I'm going to pry those up and out of there. The way to get these clamps loose is get a large screwdriver, put it there and turn it. That'll start them on both sides, and then get a pliers and pull them up out of there, because they're in here pretty good. They're tight. Here you go. Put that there, twist it. See how it's raising that clip up? And there you go. That's how you get those out. Do the other one the same way. After the clips are out, now work the cables out of the brackets. Move them up and out of the way so they don't get damaged when you lower the transmission and the engine out. So, alright. There you have it. Cables are up and out of the way. and they're out of the transmission, and the bracket is still in here. Next thing you want to do, because you just don't want no fighting with this, take your heater hoses loose off of the engine. You can either quick disconnect them back there or take them loose off the engine. That way when you drop this side of the engine, that will not fight against you in getting this out and lowered. Shifter cables are removed, the slave master cylinder hydraulic lines removed, the coolant hoses are disconnected, the upper mount is disconnected. This is ready to drop the subframe halfway down. You could also release a couple of wires from the transmission like I showed you before, and any ground wires, so that when you go to let it down, it won't hang up on anything except that steering linkage. I'm going to take the bolt out of the steering linkage there, and I'm also take it out of the steering linkage under the steering wheel. Took the power steering line loose. I took the torque mount off of there. Now I'm going to take a few of the transmission mount bolts loose. One there, one there, one here. I'm going to get those 3 out from the bottom, then I'll get the rest of them out from the sides and top. I got 2 out there from the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and take these next 3 out there, and then I got the 1 out from here. I'm going to try to get that one from there down here as well. Next, I took the 14s out of this side, 14s out of this side. Now I'm going to take the control arms loose, take the tires off, take the CV axles out. Gotta have those CV axles out in order to get the transmission off. So let me go ahead and work on that. Should have broke those loose with it on the ground. If not, you gotta get somebody to step on the brakes for you and break those loose. 36 or 30s or 32s. After that, you gotta take the tires off, 19mm or with the tire breaker bar. On the passenger side, you gotta get those carrier bolts loose. They're 12mm. Take both of them out. At this point, I'm ready to lower the subframe down so that I can pull the last couple of bolts out of the transmission and unplug the transmission from the engine. Now, you got both CV axles out, that out of the way. You got everything off the top of the transmission, most of the stuff off the bottom of the transmission, and most of these bolts loose. The passenger rear subframe bolt, I removed that all the way. The passenger front subframe bolt, I turned that down about 10 turns. And both of the subframe bolts on the driver's side, I totally removed them so that that subframe could fall down. It'll fall probably about 8 to 10 inches. That way you can pull that transmission off the engine. It's best to do that with help. If not, you can do it by yourself. Just be careful that you pick up anything you drop and that you don't damage the flywheel, clutch and stuff. Wiring harness came up over the transmission, and I see where it plugged in down there on that sensor, so need to unplug that. Then there's another bolt there that's kind of hard to get to. I need to unplug, remove that bolt there in this mount. That bolt. I was told that this bracket is unique to the manual transmissions, so you will need that. Transmission's off, so right now I'm looking for plugs to plug up the axle holes so the fluid doesn't leak out. I did not drain it. And that's what everything looks like. That's supposed to be on the end of that throw-out bearing arrangement. So somehow When I took this off at the junkyard, this did not come off properly. It probably broke it. I'm gonna put this back on here. Went on like that. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.